All right, let's talk about a technology that is poised to fundamentally change our relationship with, well, pretty much everything. It's called neurotech. And believe me, this isn't just about a few new cool gadgets. We're talking about the very future of how we interact, how we think, and our entire digital existence.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But what's so wild is that this is rapidly becoming scientific fact. The future of thought-powered technology, it's a lot closer than you might think. So, let's get into it.
So, the big question is, how do we actually get from a thought in your head to controlling a computer? Well, it all starts right here. We're at the dawn of what you could call direct thought, building the very first, very real bridges between our brains and our machines. At the very core of all this neurotech is something called the brain-computer interface, or BCI for short. Now, it's so important to get this. This isn't just a fancier mouse or a new kind of touchscreen. A BCI creates a direct hotline, translating the tiny, quiet electrical whispers of your neurons into commands a computer can understand. It's literally about tapping into the source code of your thoughts. Okay, so how does it actually work? Well, it's kind of like a three-step dance. First, you have to detect the signals. Super sensitive electrodes, and yeah, sometimes they're implanted, read the electrical patterns that your brain is constantly firing off. Then comes step two, interpreting those signals. This is where the magic happens. A seriously powerful AI algorithm listens in, analyzes these patterns, and over time it learns to recognize the specific signature for when you intend to, say, move a cursor to the left or think of the letter A. And finally, step three, commanding the device. Those translated signals now get to control something in the real world, typing an email, moving a prosthetic arm, or even flying a drone, all just by thinking about it. So that's the how, but what about the what? What are we actually doing with this technology right now, today? Well, we are already seeing some absolutely incredible breakthroughs, from genuine medical miracles to the very first wave of consumer tech. And really, it's advancing on two major fronts. On the medical side, the impact is, well, it's just profound. We're seeing companies like Neuralink and Synchron run trials where people with severe paralysis are able to communicate again, texting their family, browsing the internet, just by thinking. It's giving them a level of autonomy and connection that was pure fantasy just a decade ago. And then, on the other side, you've got the first consumer gadgets starting to pop up. Think about playing a video game without a controller, where your character just reacts to your intentions, or flying a drone just by looking and thinking where you want it to go. I mean, how cool is that? These aren't just ideas anymore. They are actual working prototypes. And make no mistake, this isn't some niche project happening in a university basement. The pace of development is accelerating like crazy. That's because some of the biggest tech companies in the world, plus a ton of hungry startups, are pouring a ton of money and resources into this. They see it as the next great leap in how we interact with machines. And when I say a ton of resources, I mean it. We're talking billions with a B. That's the amount of money being pumped into neurotech research and development. You know, that kind of financial commitment is the loudest signal you can get. It tells you that the people building the future see this tech not as a maybe, but as an absolute when. Okay, so we know what it is and what's happening now. But let's look a little further down the road, because this is where things start to get really wild. We're moving beyond just controlling things to redefining what our brains can do and how we connect with each other. And this leads us to this fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty controversial debate around something called cognitive augmentation. The question is, could we use BCIs to actually upgrade our own minds? I mean, just imagine it. What if you could enhance your memory to have perfect recall, or achieve a level of laser focus that's just not naturally possible? What if you could learn a new skill in a fraction of the time? This is where the tech goes from being helpful to being transformative, and it just blows the doors wide open on what's possible. And what about communication itself? BCIs could totally rewrite the rules. We're talking about the potential for direct brain-to-brain interfaces. You could have exchanges of ideas, maybe even emotions, that are as fast and as complex as thought itself. I mean, picture an artist. Instead of using a piano, they compose a symphony directly from their mind, sharing that pure, unfiltered creation with the world. The possibilities for creativity and just human empathy are, well, they're staggering. But, and this is a huge but, with all of this incredible potential comes a set of equally huge challenges. We simply cannot talk about the promise of neurotech without also facing up to the ethical frontier and some of the biggest questions humanity has ever had to ask. Let's start with maybe the most straightforward and terrifying one. If your brain is connected to a network, who owns the data that it's generating? Who owns your thoughts? Suddenly, issues of privacy and data security get a whole lot more intense when the data we're talking about is literally the most personal information that could ever exist. Okay, next we have to think about society as a whole. If this kind of cognitive enhancement becomes a real thing that you can buy, what happens if only the wealthy can afford it? Are we going to create a cognitive divide? A brand new and maybe permanent form of inequality between the enhanced and the unenhanced? Making sure this is accessible and equitable is going to be a monumental task. And finally, we get to what might be the deepest question of them all. When we start to really merge our biological minds with digital technology, how does that change our sense of self? What does it do to our identity, our consciousness? What does it even mean to be human at that point? So, look, we're standing at a massive crossroads. The challenge for everyone, for the scientists, for the ethicists, for you and me, is to figure out how we balance this push for incredible new human capabilities with the wisdom to handle the consequences we can't even predict yet. Having open, public conversations about this isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely essential. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this to really chew on. This isn't just about technology in the end, it's about the future of our species. When that line between mind and machine starts to blur and disappear, where does the machine end? And where does humanity truly begin? Thanks for joining me on this one.